we didn't focus on it, but none of my clothes fit. And I mean, it's a great problem to have. So I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining, but I like some of these clothes, you know? But yeah, and it happened all at once. I mean, there were things that I physically could not wear. Like I tried on this outfit that I wore a million times before, and the jeans were just like falling off of me. My bra was like gaping, and I was like, what is happening? And even sometimes I like walked by my husband, he's like, holy crap, like you are looking really like you're losing weight. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I didn't weigh, I weighed myself, I think twice while we were together. Both times were super triggering and I ended up having a binge. So I stopped doing that. So I don't know how much I've actually lost numbers wise, but my clothes do not fit. I need all new clothes. I'm down at least two sizes. So, and it feels really good because I mean, I feel like I did it in a way that was healthier. I was full and eating normally, and I worked out a lot too. So I'm feeling not only like my clothes don't fit, I feel really strong and really light, I guess. So it's not what we were focusing on, but it has been an amazing side effect because I just feel better and I feel healthier and my numbers, like my cholesterol and all that stuff, are better in 3 months. Like everything just feels so much better.
Hey,
Hey, Jen, welcome.
Hey, thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you were so gung ho. Like, you weren't just willing to be here. You were like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yes, I mean, I've been listening to the pod for a while and I'm like honored to be on it. So it's so great. I love it.
Yeah. Well, just it takes courage though to come on a show and share your journey when it is so personal and there's so much involved. How do you feel right now about sharing that on this bigger scale?
I am a little bit nervous, but I think it's time. I've been kind of suffering in silence for a long time. And one of my new things is I want to help people, even if it's just somebody to listen to this podcast and know that they're struggling with something similar. They can do it too. So I'm ready. I'm a little nervous because I've never been on a podcast before, but I'm pumped and this has been a really huge achievement too. So I'm excited to share like a lot of the wins that I've had, even though it was tough. I won, a lot.
A lot.
A
And that's how
lot.
we started out, right? So we worked together and we had so much fun. I don't know about you, but I had fun, a lot of fun working with you.
So
And
much fun.
we had a lot of laughs, even in the midst of some really tough weeks, which there were tough weeks in the 3 months that we were working together.
For both of us,
Yeah,
yeah. I feel like we went through a lot in 3 months. But
it's
yeah, we
true.
laughed and it was great. And I feel like we connected and we got to do some really cool things. It
Yeah.
was one of the best things I've done. So if you are trying to shout out your coaching, I'm definitely like everybody should do it. Everybody that you accept should do it if they can.
Thank you. Yeah. So what I want to do, I want to talk about kind of how you were showing up in the world before we worked together, how that changed throughout the program and now how you're showing up in the world. Also, some of the most powerful tools and maybe some stories around how these shifts have changed your life and how you move through the world, if that's
Yeah,
cool with you.
absolutely.
All right, so let's take it back to before we started working together in that question of how were you showing up in the world. And I think, talking about just before the coaching, but also any background information that could be helpful and to provide people.
Yeah, definitely. I often found myself angry. Like any emotion I felt, whether I was sad or hurt or frustrated or even when I was happy, it came out as anger. And I spent so much time just hating myself and it came out as anger often to like the detriment of people around me. I went through a lot of changes when I was about 7, and a lot of them would end up being good changes, but at that time it was too much to handle. My mom got married, and we moved away from my family, my grandparents that I loved and I lived with for the first 7 years of my life. And food was the only thing that sort of soothed me. It was the only constant in my life. And so I started just eating to soothe, whether I was hungry, whether I was often angry. I would eat. So we're talking 30 plus years of disordered eating. And you and I have talked about how food addiction is tricky because you can't just stop eating.
Right.
So eventually it catches up to you, and then I would eat to feel better, and then I would gain weight, and then I would punish myself and restrict, and then eat more and gain weight. And it was just this like vicious cycle. And I was so mean to myself.
Mm,
And then I showed up in the world as an angry, mean person a lot of the times.
mm. So the how you were talking to yourself reflected how you're talking to others and vice versa. And the physical manifestation of that was weight cycling up and down with the weight. Most tell us about the physical side of that.
The, I mean, just the toll it takes, right? Like I was not, I grew up around unhealthy eating habits, and I made a lot of my own. So it was like I would get down 5 pounds and be so excited I would eat something like terrible for me and be like, oh, I deserve this, and then
Mhm.
I would be mad and I would restrict and then I would eat. And it really took a toll on my self-esteem. My clothes didn't fit. I probably gained over the course of like 5 or 6 years, like 50 pounds, which is a lot. And I'm only 5'4", so it showed in
Mhm.
every single picture and every single, you know, nook and cranny. And then just, I would avoid mirrors and hide from pictures. And if anybody complimented my like outfit, I'd be like, okay, yeah, but I'm still fat underneath it. And like, it was just terrible. The whole thing was just terrible. I couldn't even look at myself. And it's awful. It's an awful feeling.
And when we started working together, well, let's take it to what made you decide to work with me.
Well, I'm gonna fangirl a little bit right now, but I've been following you for a long time, and I always thought like your views were amazing, and you and actually No Meat Athlete were like so strong and so, I don't know, you just like had these convictions that I was so jealous of and wanted for myself. And then your survey, you sent out a survey, and it just like came at the exact right time, and I was feeling like I'm so ready to just be free from all of this stuff. I'm 40, I'm ready. And I answered all of your questions honestly. And then they spoke to you. And then I was like, I have to do this. This is like, I was ready for it. It came to me. I have to do it.
I think that word freedom is a big word, right? That seems like it was a big driving factor for you, this wanting to be free. What were you wanting to be free from?
The biggest thing I wanted to be freed from, and the thing I meditate on every single day, is freedom from this food obsession, right? Like I would wake up thinking about food. If there was something, quote unquote bad for me in my fridge or in my pantry, I would just like think about it until I could eat it. Like if I was out with other people and we had a shared appetizer or bread or something like that, like I would mentally map out like who got, what portion, and when I could like go in for seconds and not, be looked at as a pig or whatever. And then the other side of it, I was like, okay, well, I ate all this stuff. So like, how now do I get the calories off? And I was just constantly thinking about food and when I could eat and how much I could eat and then how I could lose weight. And it just became this obsession. And I wanted to be free from it. It's exhausting to think about it all the time.
Oh, so exhausting. I mean,
Whew.
been there myself. I know. And it takes up so much energy. And we've talked about this a little bit, the energy and the space in our lives that takes up, and which means that other things, healthy thoughts, healthy actions, creativity, none of that has space if it's always taken up by thoughts about food and how much, when, where, how much we're going to eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what about the plant-based side of things? I know you've been an animal lover.
Forever. Oh my gosh. I've always loved animals ever since I was a kid. And I mean, I was always like, I wanted My Little Ponies, not Barbies or dolls. I always wanted pets and all this stuff. And I've actually been accused more than once of caring about animals more than people. And it never felt right to me to do harm so that I could eat. But I didn't really grow up in an area or in a time when not doing that was something I even really thought of. It was just like, this is what your parents put on the table, so you eat it. It never even occurred to me that I didn't have to. So I would try to mitigate it by just being as far away from the source as possible. Like, this is not, this is just food. But there were times, a lot of times, and this has been, I think, my whole life. There have been times when I'd be like halfway through something and be like, "Oh my god, this used to be alive," and I would not be able to finish. Or like, I would have like a rare steak or something, and in my mouth would just, I would just feel like it was just blood, and I was just like, I cannot do this. So I accidentally, and then one time I had the worst thing, I accidentally went to a pig roast. I thought it was just like a regular party. And I like saw this pig and I was absolutely horrified. I was like, what is happening? Like, I want to leave this party. And I just, and then, so I think part of my anger too is like, I was kind of living against my values. Like, I love animals, but here I am harming them for my own personal gain when you don't even have to.
And where were you when we first started on your journey to being vegan or plant-based?
I had already stopped eating red meat and a lot of dairy, partially because I just could not process it anymore. It hurt my stomach and it wasn't processing. And I don't know if it was purely physical or if my mind was finally like, you need to stop this. And then after that, I think I was still eating fish sometimes when I talked to you, but it was like once you stop eating one thing, like I stopped eating cow, okay, well, then it's still like it doesn't feel right to also eat these other beings, right? So it was just kind of like it just kind of happened pretty quickly once I started working with you. I still struggle with dairy a little bit, but I'm still like working towards being fully vegan. I'm very close. I just have to be careful with, because of my history of disordered eating, with like changing my diet too much. And sometimes I just have to let a little dairy slide through. But I have been fully no meat for at least the last 3 months, and it's been great. I finally feel like I'm living, the way I should be.
Mm. What does that feel like to feel more aligned?
I just feel very calm and centered. I feel lighter, and I just I feel like I can. There's this this little farmers market that I go to where you can feed the cows. Like they have these like old vegetables that you can feed the cows. So now like when I go, I feel like I can look them in the eye and be like, oh my
Mm.
God, I love you. You're these like goofy, like greedy, hungry beings, and you're just living your life. And now I don't know, I feel like being in line has given me a lot of freedom. It has freed me up for so many things because now I don't really have to think about it.
Was there anything that surprised you? Or I know you had your doubts, right? You were willing to commit to the process and to the coaching, and you were all in. And I make sure that that's the case with anybody who would like to work with me. I say, this is not easy. This is a process. There's a lot of work involved here. I'm going to be with you every step of the way, but you've got to be as committed as I'm committed. Was there anything that you felt especially doubtful, even though you were committed, that, this is going to work for you?
I think, I mean, right off the bat, I didn't think that I would be able to get free of my disordered eating. I feel like I had tried everything else and nothing had worked. So why was this time going to be different? And I felt like I had done the work before, but I hadn't maybe done the right things, or maybe I wasn't ready. I'm not sure, but I was so sure that this was just going to be something I deal with for the rest of my life. And maybe I will in some regards, but it's not the I don't know, the monster it used to be,
Mm.
right? So that was surprising. And I think the other thing was we worked a lot on being present in the moment, and I just rewatched one of our meetings, and it was such a roller coaster because I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm present. This is great. Until like one thing happened that I didn't want to do. It was like a boring meeting. And I was like, what am I doing? Like being present is hard. They never tell you that. They're always like, oh yeah, be present. Then you can be zen. You can be in the moment. And I was just like, oh my God, I need to get out of this meeting. I'm too present.
I remember that session together so clearly. You're like,
I was so
this presence
surprised.
thing, I don't know about this. Like, you were like, I'm getting it, and I don't know if I like
It was not for everything. But
it.
so those are the biggest surprises, I think.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to get to some of your stories. But let's first talk about, okay, so now, and this is 3 months. I mean, it's a relatively short time for this
Yeah.
coaching program, right? I mean, we're talking about very ingrained programming and habits and thought processes that, um, that we're working on changing this hardwired thoughts and behaviors. So it's a very short period of time, and a lot of things shifted for you. Let's talk first about on a physical level, because the truth is, um, once we got started, the focus was never on weight loss, right? And we barely even talked about it throughout, even though I knew that that was a goal, of course. And there's a lot of people listening to this right now who are like, I have weight to lose. I need to focus on it. Where are you at now after just 3 months together? And keeping in mind, we did not focus on it.
Yeah, we didn't focus on it, but none of my clothes fit. And I mean, it's a great problem to have. So I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining, but I like some of these clothes, you know? But yeah, and it happened all at once. I mean, there were things that I physically could not wear. Like I tried on this outfit that I wore a million times before, and the jeans were just like falling off of me. My bra was like gaping, and I was like, what is happening? And even sometimes I like walked by my husband, he's like, holy crap, like you are looking really like you're losing weight. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I didn't weigh, I weighed myself, I think twice while we were together. And both times were super triggering and I ended up having a binge. So I stopped doing that. So I don't know how much I've actually lost numbers wise, but my clothes do not fit. I need all new clothes. I'm down at least 2 sizes. So, and it feels really good because I mean, I feel like I did it in a way that was healthier. I was full and eating normally, and I worked out a lot too. So I'm feeling not only like my clothes don't fit, I feel really strong and really light, I guess. So it's not what we were focusing on, but it has been an amazing side effect because I just feel better and I feel healthier and my numbers, like my cholesterol and all that stuff, are better in 3 months. Like everything just feels so much better.
And I think, and we talked about this, and this is what I say to clients who really want to lose weight and we're working together. It's like, well, how has focusing on that worked for you in the past?
I feel like you asked me that a lot. You
Mhm.
asked me, how has focusing so much on this been helped you? How has berating yourself and treating yourself like shit helped you? And it really hadn't, but I thought maybe someday.
Right, right. This time will be different. That
Yes, yes,
definition of insanity, doing the same
yes.
thing over and over again, expecting different results.
And spoiler alert, it
It doesn't.
doesn't. No.
It's insane. It
Yeah.
really is. All right. So what we did focus on is relationships. So we focused on your relationship with yourself, your self-talk, your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, your relationship with others, your relationship with the world, the universe. So let's talk about your relationship with yourself first, because that is kind of the root of everything. How do you, and we talk about, I approach myself with curiosity and compassion as one of the first tools. Can you talk a little bit about, and a lot of people to say, I feel really silly telling myself that each morning, which I had you do every morning, right? Talk about how you felt about that and, what your kind of inner dialogue was towards the beginning and how that has changed things for you.
Yeah, that was really my mantra. That was one of the very first things we worked on, and I felt a little silly, I guess, but I needed it, right? Like I needed to treat myself better because what I was doing was not working. And eventually it just became what I was because and I would have to like sometimes I would be mid berating myself and be like, no, kindness, curiosity, like, and then I would ask myself questions. I did some like unhinged behaviors to get these things ingrained because I would like stop and have a conversation with myself, be like, no, you're being nice to yourself now. Um, so, but it was a game changer. And it's like you said, and I will tell you, you said in the beginning, you have to be kind to yourself if you want to affect any kind of change. And I was like, I don't believe you. I think I straight up was like, I don't
Yes.
know. But it's true. It's true. And if you tell yourself enough that, you deserve compassion and curiosity from yourself, like you always ask, like, what people would put on a billboard. And that's what be kind to yourself.
Mm.
Like, you can't, you have to, and you deserve it. We always learned, be kind to others and treat others the way you want others to treat you. But we never taught to treat ourselves that way. And you deserve it. You're the only thing you have like 100% of the time. You have to be nice to yourself. And the curiosity thing, like if I'm doing something like I want to eat a whole cake, like I can just stop and be like, why are you doing this? And
Mhm.
if, and you know, most of the time I can talk myself out of it, but if I can't, it's okay. Like, and that was, I think, the biggest change. I remember um one of the binges I had during our time together, it wasn't that I was able to stop it, but I was able to kind of be in it a little more mindfully. And I said, okay, you want to eat this food, why? And I would go through, you know, the craving thing, like, why do you want to eat this? What will it do for you? Blah blah blah. And then, okay, you still want to eat this food, go ahead, knowing that it's going to suck. And then I do, and I ate it pretty mindfully, whatever. And then afterwards I was able to forgive myself, which I'd never been able to do before.
Mhm.
And then it's over, right? Like, so it happened, but then it's over. And that was like the biggest like aha moment I think I had, was being kind to myself after.
Mhm.
And that was it. I was like, holy crap, this is so much better. Because sometimes they would last for days because it was a
Right.
cycle.
Right. It was like, I've already screwed up. I'm going to
Mhm.
continue to punish myself and just keep going
Correct.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a game changer for sure.
Now, in order to do this, approaching yourself with curiosity and compassion, we got to be conscious, right? And that takes the pause, the power pause.
Yep.
Yes. Talk to us about the pause and that relationship you developed with the pause. And I love, and I'm adding it to my coaching program that we'll be launching this year, the pause jewelry.
Oh,
I think this is genius.
it was the best part, honestly.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's the best, the thing that you came up with. Did you? I think you came up with that.
I think it was a
We
team effort. I
team
think we were
effort.
like, maybe is there something we could have? And then we started talking about jewelry. So like
Yeah.
the power pause is one of the trickiest things, because I'm like a person, like I'm always going like 100,000 miles an hour. And like if I think of something, I want to do it immediately and then it's done. That does not work if you're a binge eater, right? So like but so in order to get me used to it, I think well, it had been like 3 weeks and I was like, I'm not doing this damn pause. I cannot remember it in times when I need it. So I was doing it for everything for a week. So we talked about the jewelry. So I got a ring, which I love. And so not only did I get to buy myself something nice, you know, for the coaching, obviously,
Of course.
I was able to remind myself. But again, this is like some more unhinged behavior that I had, because I paused for everything. Like I remember I was like taking my vitamins and I'd pause and be like, you're taking your B12, and then I would take it. And then I'd pause, be like, you're taking your lysine, and then I would take it. I would like pause getting into my car, be like, you're opening your car and you're gonna get in, you're gonna go somewhere. And I was just like this like deranged person, but I'm like, no, that we're gonna get this. And then finally, once I got used to it, I was able to use it for so many things, for eating especially is where it helped me, but also for like difficult conversations. Like if something was happening, I could pause and be like, okay, this is not going the way I want it to go. But I could think about it, and even though I still felt shitty or whatever, you're clearer because you just stop and you ask yourself some questions or think about something or whatever it is that you're doing. Just take a second. And then, I mean, Tara and you always talk about emotions only lasting, was it 30 to 90 seconds or something? If you take that pause and then you realize how quickly they go by, it's,
Mhm.
yeah. But the pause it was hard, one of the hardest things for me to master. But when I did, it's like so helpful for everything.
Yeah, and I know you're calling it unhinged because I can see how like you're stopping as you open your car door and you're saying, "I'm opening my car door," and feeling like a little bit of a crazy person saying that. And we had talked about how we got to start with the things that are not emotionally charged, right?
Right.
Because it's when you're emotionally charged that you forget and you go right into impulse and reaction as opposed to response. So it was a very strategic
Yes.
move for you to do
Yes.
that. And it was, and in these things, this is the stuff that takes work. And what I want to, just acknowledge you for is putting in the work. And you really did every week, even when it was tough, even when you didn't feel like it was working, quote, you did it and it paid off in the end. So let's talk about a story. We're talking about not only approaching yourself with curiosity and compassion, but really approaching the world. We kind of added in the world after you started getting the self. I know you had an incident at Trader Joe's.
Oh, my
Could you?
Trader Joe's lady. Yes. um yeah, the approaching the world with kindness again. Like I feel like I was such a misanthrope, and I was like, people get away from me, and I was always like going into public places was like a battle, and because that's how I treated it. But when I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, well, here we are at Trader Joe's. There's only two in my area. Neither of them are convenient, and they're always crazy busy. And this was like 11 a.m. on a Sunday. I happened to be going to brunch, and I drove by, and I just like got on two wheels into the parking lot. I was like, going to Trader Joe's. So busy. And I just was kind of wandering around, and I went to pick up this vegan buffalo dip that's really good. And I leaned next to this lady, and I said, I'm reaching next to you. And she just looked so harassed. And I was like, oh man, this lady looks like she's having a day. She's like, of course you are. And you and I talked about it, and you're like, that's pretty rude. I was like, yeah, that was rude, but I didn't take it that way. Instead, I like looked at her and was about to like ask her something. And then she had these like big eyes, and she turns to me and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I just had to, like, I don't normally come at this time. I'm normally here way earlier, but I had to take my 18-year-old cat to this special vet that was like an hour away. And she just kind of unloaded on me. And normally I would be like, why are you telling me this? I'm not your therapist. But it was actually a really beautiful moment. So then we started talking about our cats and how like caring for elderly animals and how Trader Joe's is crazy, but it's totally worth it. And then by the end of it, she was calm, and I felt like I had helped her a little bit. And we were like, Happy New Year. I hope you have like a great year ahead of you. And it was just like
Hmm.
this beautiful moment that I would have missed out on if I was that like hissing troll creature I used to be, because I was just like, this is Trader Joe's right now. These are the people that are here right now. I'm choosing to be here, and that's just it. I just That was it. And then I connected with someone, and
Mm.
that's never been like, people probably won't even believe this story. Like, who is
People who know you.
it? Yeah, exactly.
Who is this? Ella, what have you done with our gin?
Talking to people.
And it's so empowering as well. Like this is what I'm kind of getting from you here is how you've taken your power back in a sense, in every aspect of your life, when it comes to food, when it comes to choices, when it comes to interactions with other people. You're making conscious choices, and that's powerful
And
and
it feels
freeing.
better. Yeah, it feels better than being thrust into either, something you don't want to do, or I don't know, just kind of acting in a way that's, I don't know, like against kind of human nature. Like, I think it's in a lot of our nature to want to connect and to help people, and I was just not living that way.
And then hadn't heard, because I think this happened after our last coaching session, but about the sauna.
Oh my gosh, the sauna lady. Yeah, you were in the sauna with us for sure. You had this little Ella on my shoulder. Okay, so I'm in the sauna at my gym. So it's like in the locker room, and I'm not making eye contact with the other woman that's in there with me. And I see this lady outside in the locker room, and she takes like 6 feet of paper towels from like the paper towel thing. I'm like, what the hell is this lady doing? And then, of course, she comes into the sauna, and she's just like balling up these paper towels. And I was just like, what is happening? And then I was like, you know what? The tiny Ella on my shoulder was like, be curious. So I just looked at her, about to be like, what the hell are you doing? And she's like, I don't like the feel of sweat dripping down my body. And I was like, odd choice to come in a sauna, but maybe still wants the benefits. So then she starts like wrapping all of these paper towels like around her neck and like up her arms, and, like around her belly. And she just sits there like covered in these paper towels. But being curious about her led her to ask me if I had any New Year's resolutions. And I was like, no, these past 3 years have been horrible. Like, I'm just hoping that this year is it just happens. And then that led us, we talked for like 15 minutes in the sauna, and the other woman got involved. We started talking about like decisions to have kids and like the state of the world. And it again ended up being this like beautiful moment with these two women that I see at the gym all the time. Like, I've seen these people before. And instead of like, I ended up talking to them and having a great conversation, instead of just going home and telling my husband about the crazy lady like killing trees at the sauna, and like not interacting with him at all. Like, so different than how I
Yeah.
normally would have handled it. I would have been like, do not make eye contact with this
Mm.
person. But it was beautiful, and she was so freaking nice.
Yes, I am imagining your friends right now listening to this podcast being like, Ella has hijacked Jen. Where did she
Been
go?
body snatched by someone nicer and more helpful. Oh, and with baggy clothes now. Yeah.
And with baggy clothes now. You know what we forgot to even mention is, and this slipped my mind, when we first started, you were, and let me know if you're okay talking about this, but you are using a weight loss drug.
Oh yeah, I was. Yep, yep, yep.
I
I
forgot
was.
about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we talked about that at the beginning. Do you remember how that conversation went and our decision, and how you felt about that?
Yes, I did. And the weight loss drug helped a little, I will say, but the bulk of the weight that I lost was after, because you and I had a conversation about it, and you were in no way like pressuring or anything like that. You were just like, what do you think? And I was like, I think I can't do this work simultaneously having my appetite shut off or whatever, because that's not really going to get me where I need to be, right? That's not going to, I have to have these urges and these things happen normally so that I can deal with them in a way that I need to. And that's for longevity, right?
Right.
And so yeah, I think it was a few weeks in and I got off it, and then only then was I able to handle these binges, right? Because they weren't really happening on the weight loss drugs. It just
Right.
kind of like slows down your digestion. You're just not really that hungry. But yeah, so I did start on that. And again, it helped a little bit. I maybe got, I don't know, 5, 10 pounds off, but the change happened when you and I started working together, and we started talking about things and being present and getting this food freedom. That was the thing that helped me. And I mean, obviously, like I work out and stuff like that, but I always did. I
Mhm.
always worked out a lot. That was something that I was pretty consistent about, but I was always able to like out eat my workouts. So yeah, I got off the weight loss drug and still getting off of it, even though it was a little dicey at first because I was back on my bullshit for a couple of days. But once it was out, we were able to really like dig in, and that was it.
Right. We decided we couldn't address the root issues if they were being masked.
Right.
The symptoms were being masked by this drug.
Right.
Uh, and so, and that's again another really courageous thing that you did was saying, I'm going to get off this drug, knowing that the cravings, the urges, the things that the reasons that I went on the drug in the first place are going to come back. And now I'm going to kind of trust in you to guide me through that process of dealing with them
Yeah.
in their full-fledged form.
Yeah. And they do come back. And I don't know if they were stronger. I've heard mixed things from people, but sometimes they come back even stronger because you're not really, you're just kind of
Yeah.
flipping a switch. And like you said, masking it. So you just don't really think about it that much. But as soon as you're off it, it just comes back full force,
Yeah.
maybe worse. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And you mentioned exercise, that you've always been into working out and all that, but did you have any shifts that came along with your attitude towards training or anything with exercise that shifted?
Oh yes, the power pause helped with that a lot too, because you stop and you think like, look what my body can do. There was one time I do a mix of lifting and boxing and bar, but there was one bar is like the ballet workout. And there was one time when I was like, I had it so that my leg was behind me, and my, my butt was like tight. And I like looked and I was like, oh my God, look what my butt's doing right now. So I was just like, look at my body can do, even if I'm whatever, not at my goal weight or whatever. Like my body is doing these things. My body can do these things. And I'm so strong. And I'm holding this plank, and now my legs behind me and my butt is tight, and it looks great, like. And even before that, like I had a couple of personal gains like from lifting and stuff. I'm doing assisted pull-ups at 95 pounds when I started at 140. And even though it seems like it's kind of a small win because it's just like one exercise, but I was just like, I can do this though. And it's very motivating. Those tiny things are just very motivating. And my personal trainer knows this. So she knows that the tiny things are really like what get me going. So we make sure we do like little mini celebrations and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, even just, but it could be anything, but just knowing that your body can do these things and do what you want it to do is just, it feels great.
Yeah, it just seems like you really were able to make this shift to I'm training because I love my body. I respect my body, not as a punishment, not as a means to burn off the calories I feel guilty about eating, but really exercising for the sake of exercising and having it feel good and be good for me on every level.
Yeah. And if it's fun, then it doesn't even seem like a punishment. So
Yeah.
I'm much more consistent than I used to be because I find things that I enjoy and then I thank my body for it. It sounds cheesy, but it works. I'm just like, you know what? Some people can't do this.
One of the other things that happens a lot, 80 to 90% of people who go on a diet, they gain all the weight back usually and then some. How do you feel about the sustainability of the changes you've made and the direction you're going at this point?
I actually feel pretty good about it. There's some nerves there, obviously, but I there's so many options, right? Like I went through the entire time we were working together. I was like, I'm going to try something new every week. So now I have tried all these new vegetables, and I love to cook. That's one of the things that I do for me, and it's been so fun coming up with recipes and so like a while ago, I was already kind of not eating meat, but I like panic ate some chicken at a friend's house because they like made this chicken and didn't know that I was plant based, whatever. So I had just like a tiny bit of the chicken and the sauce, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? I can make this vegan. And I did, and it was so good. It was so good vegan. So like I just feel like I'm having so much fun with it. And you know, after working with you and working on all these recipes, I have probably a dozen recipes that I make all the time, and they're vegan and they're healthy and they're fresh and they're delicious. And you know, and we haven't talked about this yet. Oh yeah, so the power pause, and also, you know, the whole chewing your food thing, which we haven't
Oh,
talked about yet, but
right. Yeah.
that was a tool that you said, it was like the first thing you told me, and it helped me right off the bat. Like if you take your time and you chew your food and you enjoy it, you're either going to be very sore in the jaw, or like half, like three quarters of the way through, it doesn't taste as good as it did in those first bites because you're paying attention, and then you could just stop. So I feel okay about it. I think the things to continue to work on would be the mindful eating, right? Like and making sure I'm not distracted by TV, by whatever, by phone. And that's going to be the thing to work on. But I think the food is pretty solid.
Awesome. Yeah. That chewing your food
It's so
it's some,
simple.
it's so simple and it's not easy.
You know?
You know, it's a change in how long it takes to eat. It's most people love to eat in front of the TV. It's like the thing they do to relax and tune out, and you're tuning out from the world and the food that you're eating. And I've really found with, I think, every client that I've worked with, those who do that one thing see results, see physical results pretty quickly.
Yeah, not only, I mean, obviously I've lost weight, but also like my stomach feels better because I mean, I think you were like,
Mm.
the digestion starts in your mouth. So start there, and then you won't have these like bubble guts
Yeah.
after, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was awesome,
Yeah.
powerful, easy, not easy to do, but like simple.
Simple. Yes.
Yeah,
Simple and easy. Easy is different than simple.
exactly.
But yeah, it takes that pause. So yeah, you really put in the work. Jen, is there anything else that you can think of that might be helpful for people listening that are struggling with their weight, with, you know, being kind of obsessive about food, even if they don't have a full-on eating disorder or binge terribly, but are, you know, spending a lot of time and energy? What opened up for you? I guess that's another question that I haven't asked. When you felt like, you know, towards the last few sessions, you were like, I've just got so much more space, more time, more energy to do other
Oh,
things. What am I going to do?
yeah. Yes, I now that I'm not obsessing over food, and I finally have, you know, the freedom I was looking for, I have this creativity just like coming out of my ears. I cannot stop doing stuff. I mean, I've always done, not always, the past couple of years I've done paper crafts and make like greeting cards and stuff, but recently I got into watercolor. One of my friends does pottery, so he like brought me to his pottery studio, and I made like four bowls the other day, just, and I cannot stop creating. Even with cooking, like I have created like six or seven recipes. Just, I mean, I use like, I go online and get some ideas, but I have just been creating. I have so much, I don't know, so much coming out of me. I've been just, I feel right now like I'm an artist trapped in like a corporate stooge's body because I cannot stop creating things. So we'll try to work on getting the artist out a little bit more, but it's been so fun to not be bogged down by all these like heavy feelings and obsessive thoughts, and now I can do the things that I like to do. And I didn't even know I could watercolor is hard. I didn't know I could do it, but they look like cats, so that's really all I'm asking for. I'm meant to do a cat and it looks like a cat.
That's awesome. I know you showed me. It's gorgeous. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's so, they're so cute.
It's so cute.
And my, you know, my mother-in-law and my mother, and randomly enough, my stepdad's father, they're all very creative people, and they're all like artists for everybody. And that was one thing. Like I was like, no, I'm not going to be good at it, whatever. But now that I have all this room, I don't care. If I have paper and stuff, and I just art is for everybody. And if you love it, then do it. Doesn't matter. I'm not trying to sell it. Even if I did, doesn't matter.
Hmm. Yeah. What would you say to anybody who's kind of like, "Oh, I don't know. I really want to move forward, but you know, why is this different? Why is this different from everything else that's out there? And why would it work for me?"
It's hard, you know, and not necessarily in a bad way, but it was a lot of work. It took a lot of time, and I really had to focus on it. And then, I'm obviously also paying you. So there's some monetary, like you're investing in yourself, kind of. And I think we just don't do that enough, or at least maybe we do it in ways that are not as beneficial. Like, I mean, I treat myself to Amazon all the time. That's not what I mean. Like, it was hard and it cost me, and it was the right time. Plus, I mean, you had the loving yourself was like that was the one thing that if you can do anything, if you can't, don't have the means or whatever to get personalized coaching, if you can find a way to coach yourself and to talk nice to yourself and to then you can start, affecting change on your own. But I think you gotta do the work, because if you earn it, then I think it tends to stick, right? Like I was all about quick fixes. Like I was doing the weight loss drug. I tried starving myself. I tried all these like diet pills and, the hot yoga and, running in a trash bag. Like I tried all of these things and they did not work and they did not make me feel good. So this was hard work, but it made me feel good once I was kind of through it, and it
Mhm.
and it comes with like, highs and lows, right? I'd be like, oh my God, like the first couple weeks, like, yeah, I got this. And then something happens and you're like, oh my God, I don't got this. But you keep going. And it's hard, but it's worth it. And then once it clicks, it clicks. And I think you said that too. I think you said that in the beginning, you're like, it'll click. And I was like, I don't
Mhm.
know.
You said,
But
I
then
don't
it
know a
does.
lot.
I don't know.
I don't know. I hear you. I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna
And
do
I
it.
don't know.
You have to. I mean, we talk about, I'm still reading the presence process, right? I don't really get it, but that's okay. You're going through it. You're taking what you can, and you got to trust the process.
Yep.
Because once I was through it, I was like, oh my God, I did a thing. I thwarted a binge, or I didn't beat myself up, or I lost however many pounds I lost, and I did it. And it was hard, but then it feels good. You got to do
Amazing.
the work.
Got to do the work. Got to do the work. Anything else that we haven't chatted about that you'd like to leave people with?
No, I think this was awesome. I love sharing my journey, because it was so these last 3 years. I'm just like, I mean, everything that's happened, to us since, and including COVID, like I've just fundamentally changed. And then working with you was kind of the last part of it. Like I had already changed, but now I actually was trying to live in line with my values, and I did that. So I feel like a brand new person, and now I have all this room for creativity and to help people. I've never in my life, like I said, my friends would be like, what the hell is she talking about? I've never in my life wanted to help people. But now I care and I want to connect with people, and I'm talking to random ladies at the gym. So it's just been really, really life changing. And I finally feel like if I don't have all the freedom that I was looking for, I'm at least like really close.
And it's a journey that we're on for the rest of our lives, right? There is no
Yeah.
arrival.
No, and it's kind of fun. I mean, you always say play life like a game. And once again, that clicked. And I think I told you I didn't realize how funny everything is.
Yeah, you'd come every like so many sessions and be like, wow, this thing happened and it was funny. But
It
it
was
was kind of just a regular, I can't think of an example right now, but kind of just a regular thing. And you're like, this is
like a yoga class.
hilarious.
I think it
Like,
was a yoga class that I went to at someone's house, and I was in this like yoga
oh
shed.
yeah. Yes, the yoga shed.
The yoga shed, but it was just a normal yoga class. But like we were upside down and we were doing inversions, and I was like, this is hilarious. And you were like, okay, yeah, yoga is funny, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've just had
It,
so many experiences now that I'm like open to it. So it's been fun. It was hard
it,
work, but it's been a lot of fun.
yeah. I feel like, when you go to the eye doctor and they put the different lenses for you to
Yes.
see in front of you, it's like switching out lenses and you're now looking through the world this is, as we transform, we switch out lenses and we see the world through this new lens, and it opens up all sorts of ideas and opportunities and laughter and humor and love and light uh, and just a new way of feeling and moving through the world. And yeah, you did the work to get there, and I'm so grateful to have been able to spend that time with you. And
Me too. It
yeah,
was
so thank
amazing.
you, Jen. Thank
Oh,
you
thank
for
you.
sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Hey.